Hey everyone, and welcome back to today's Explainer. With the news cycle moving at literally lightning speed these days, we really need to just step back for a second and look at the facts. So today, we're doing exactly that. We're breaking down the absolute latest global dispatches, from heartbreaking domestic tragedies to some seriously complex geopolitical maneuvers, and we're going to turn these rapidly unfolding events into a clear, comprehensive journey. Let's get right into it. Here's the roadmap for today's global tour. We're starting with the San Diego Mosque attack. Then we'll pivot to U.S. politics and indictments, head south for the tensions in Latin America, and finally look at the escalating conflicts in the Middle East and Asia. All right, part one, the San Diego Mosque attack, tragedy at the Islamic Center. 3. Just 3. It's a single digit, but today it represents an absolutely devastating reality at the Islamic Center of San Diego. 3 lives were tragically lost when 2 teenage gunmen opened fire on the mosque. When we're just scrolling through our news feeds, it is so easy to lose sight of the gravity of a number like this. But this isn't just a statistic. It represents an immeasurable loss for a local community, and honestly a shockwave that's being felt way beyond the city limits. As investigators scramble to piece together a motive, the San Diego police chief made their initial stance crystal clear, saying, "We are considering this a hate crime until it's not." That right there establishes the primary lens for law enforcement. They aren't ruling anything out just yet, but the suspected nature of this violence has communities literally everywhere on extremely high alert. And the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that behind these breaking news alerts are real, everyday people. The victims identified in this suspected hate crime are Mansour Kazia, Nader Awad, and Amin Abdullah. The reports coming in specifically highlight Amin Abdullah, who was actually a security guard at the mosque, as an absolute hero. His actions during this terrifying ordeal have really been central to the narrative emerging from the center. It's a stark reminder of the profound courage that, often surfaces in the absolute darkest of moments. To wrap up the confirmed facts on this still developing story, authorities have officially stated that both teenage shooters are deceased. We're also hearing some truly harrowing accounts from inside the mosque during the attack, including from a child survivor who described the terrifying ordeal. It's just a somber reminder of the lasting trauma events like this inflict on the most vulnerable among us. Moving right along to Section 2, U.S. politics and indictments, legal battles and geopolitics. First up in the political arena is a major point of contention that's really causing alarm among legal experts, and that is former President Donald Trump's anti-weaponization fund. So it's basically a tale of 2 entirely different perspectives. On one hand, you have these strictly stated goals of the fund itself. But then on the flip side, Democrats are arguing that this fund actually compensates pardoned January 6 rioters. It perfectly, almost literally, captures the deep polarization we're seeing right now in U.S. politics, where even the fundamental purpose of a legal defense fund is just fiercely contested. Now, what's really interesting about this next slide is how suddenly our focus shifts from domestic disputes right back to international relations. The news feed just lit up with reports that the U.S. has actually indicted Cuba's Raul Castro. So the massive question all the geopolitical analysts are asking right now is, why now? The timing of such a high-profile indictment is almost never coincidental, right? It signals a really significant maneuver by the U.S. Justice Department on the global stage, and it's a development that will undoubtedly send ripple effects across international diplomacy. All right, Section 3, tensions in Latin America, a wave of violence. Take a look at these 3 distinct rapid-fire developments. Together, they really build a picture of regional unrest. First, in Mexico, officials reported an early morning shooting in Tehuantzingo that left 10 people dead, blamed right now simply on armed individuals. Second, over in Colombia, 2 presidential campaign staffers were killed right ahead of the May elections to replace Gustavo Petro, which of course is raising huge fears about political violence. And third, really blurring the borders here, Gerardo Merida Sanchez, an ex-Sinaloa security chief, was arrested in Arizona over alleged cartel ties before being transferred up to New York. So, collectively, this paints a pretty stark picture of severe, multifaceted instability sweeping across the Americas. And this brings us to a massive point of speculation that literally has the media buzzing right now. As questions grow about U.S. involvement in Mexico, especially after cross-border arrests like the one we just talked about, reports from major outlets, we're talking CNN and the New York Times, have suggested that the CIA might actually be conducting operations against cartels directly on Mexican soil. It is a huge geopolitical question regarding sovereignty and international law enforcement. Well, the pushback from the top was immediate. In response to those U.S. media reports, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum definitely did not mince words. She responded simply with two words: a lie. By flatly denying CIA operations, she's drawing a really hard line on sovereignty, pretty much leaving the public to navigate this massive contrast between international media claims and official state declarations.
Okay, final stop, Section 4, Middle East and Asia, escalating global conflicts.
Let's look at exactly how events unfolded on May 18th with the Gaza-bound global Samut flotilla. So the day began with the boats approaching near Cyprus, but shortly after, Israeli forces began intercepting them. The situation then escalated even further when abducted activists aboard released pre-recorded messages calling for help. Mapping this out step by step reveals the precise, reported sequence of what was obviously a highly tense encounter, exactly as it unfolded on the water. Meanwhile, on that very same day, but over in the occupied West Bank, another localized incident really contributed to the broader regional tensions. Reports indicate that Israeli settlers actually drove a vehicle directly into a herd of livestock belonging to a Palestinian shepherd. Now, while this is completely distinct from the maritime flotilla interception, it is absolutely another piece of the complex, highly volatile puzzle happening on the ground in the region right now. And the instability in the Middle East definitely extends beyond those borders. Right around that same time, we received breaking news out of Syria. A suspected car bomb exploded in the capital city of Damascus. In a region that is already deeply scarred by conflict, sudden, explosive events like this just add immediate pressure to what is an already incredibly fragile security situation. Finally, we're going to look at a major update regarding international justice coming out of South Asia. Over in Pakistan, a man has been sentenced to death for the killing of TikTok star Sana Youssef. This is a massive, high-profile case. It intersects modern social media fame with the stark, harsh realities of the criminal justice system, and it serves as a definitive legal conclusion to a deeply public tragedy. So, we have covered an immense amount of ground today on this global tour, from the truly heartbreaking targeted violence in San Diego to major political indictments, cartel shadows in Latin America, and intercepted flotillas in the Middle East. It all leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. In a week so heavily marked by tragedy, conflict, and global unrest, where do we actually see the balance of justice? It's a hugely complex question for sure, but by breaking down the facts objectively like we did today, we are all much better equipped to look for the answer. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.